This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Batteries, and more batteries. Welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and together we are your KTAR car guys. Heard every Saturday from 11 to noon right here at Bumper to Bumper Radio. We're helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car repair experience. If you've got car questions, we've got car answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text those battery questions to 411-923. We got a little bit of fact or fiction today, open phones and texts and batteries. I mean, it's the perfect topic for May because, you know, it's that time of year where you're going to go get in your car to go to graduation. You're going to have your tux on, and you're going to get in the car, and it's going to say, click. That's it.
Well, we're continuing to get our May reprieve, Dave. I mean, there's the weather. Usually we have 100 degrees by now, and things are cooking, and batteries are failing. So it's the perfect opportunity that we've got a full studio today. We've got Michael and Carrie, part of Bumper to Bumper, here with us. We've got Billy Kann and Dave Walworth from Interstate Batteries. And Interstate Battery, we're happy to announce a new partner with Bumper to Bumper Radio. So we thought, perfect, let's get the battery experts in here to talk about batteries, answer your questions. I know Dave and I know a lot about batteries, but as we sit around and talk, there's all this stuff that you've forgotten. And so, guys, thanks for coming in. It's a pleasure to have you here. Batteries. You talk about the summertime or any time of the year. It used to be back east. When I lived back in Virginia, the first cold. Well, in Arizona now we have the first hot, when it's really hot. And the batteries, they take a beating in the summertime. So you really want to be proactive before you find yourself on the side of the road and know when it's time to go get a battery, you go to a trusted source, a reliable source for a quality battery, and know that you're really buying from people that are part of the community.
Well, the reason we partnered with Interstate Battery, they've been around since 1952. I mean, it is the #1 replacement brand, covered at more shops across the nation. And guys, I want to know, because you guys are here in Arizona distributing batteries, what part of the country is the hot spot for selling batteries?
Phoenix.
Phoenix? Is it the number one?
A battery in Phoenix lasts the least of anywhere in the U.S.
And I always thought that was like the urban, we make up our statistics as we go along, right, Dave?
All the time. 70% of all statistics are made up just before they're given.
Right, just like that one. But so is that's what we've always felt. But I guess with Interstate, you have the stats behind that really just show that this is the toughest climate on batteries?
Yeah, forever. They've been doing what they call a junk bin studies. It just they hire people to test batteries that have been discarded and called no good anymore, and that's where they come up with those numbers. The good news for us and for hopefully most of your listeners is Interstate Batteries. We've upped that age in the last 20 years that I've been out here, so we're lasting a lot longer than we used to.
I think I heard something earlier today about 35 months was about the average lifespan of it.
39 months.
39 in Arizona.
Wow.
As opposed to high 60s in, say, Minnesota.
Well, no, you guys, I mean, we didn't just bring the Interstate Battery guys. These guys have been slinging batteries for a long time. Billy, how long have you been slinging batteries back from your Chicago days?
I started with Interstate June 6th of 1980.
Man. So there's all kinds of battery knowledge here. So if you guys got questions about batteries, I know it's one of those things that people still change out themselves and deal with, but sometimes you just want to get a battery changed, and I'm a big fan of just getting battery changed.
Well, yeah, I mean, the battery's going to fail. After you've got a certain amount of life out of the battery, you have to ask yourself, do I want to buy this battery when I'm in control of the situation, or do I want to buy this battery on the way to the wedding, on the way to graduation or vacation? Hey, I'd really look forward to buying one at the Pilot Truck Stop in Blythe. That would be fantastic on vacation. wouldn't it?
It's going to be a good price too.
Yeah. So the point is that we can, going to the repair shop on a regular basis, the one thing that I think most shops do now is test your battery. I know at Virginia Auto Service, we're testing the battery every single time the car comes in. We want to let you know about it. And quite honestly, we're not just testing other people's batteries. We're testing our batteries, the batteries we sell you. The Interstate Battery, we're still testing those on a regular basis, because even if it's our good battery that we know is a good battery in there, they at some point, like everything else, they're going to die.
Well, you were saying, Billy, before the show that, I mean, you guys have increased the life of these batteries and the life expectancy, but at the same time, it's got harder on the battery because there's so many systems now. That vehicle is always drawing from that battery, even when you think it's not. Oh, it's off, nothing's happening. Well, we've got to keep all that stuff alive. So we were talking about a Cadillac, and there may be 20 modules on there, different things happening. These vehicles that have the start-stop technology, there's all kinds of new stuff. So to make the battery last longer at the same time, it's harder on the battery because they're more in demand. And for testing, just because it starts your car doesn't mean it's a good battery. If you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, exactly. And back in 1980, when I started, the battery just had to start the car. And my dad had to teach me how to pump the gas just right so the carburetor wouldn't flood out and the car would start. And those days are gone now. So Interstate's gotten better at it because we had to. There's drivability computers on the car now that even when the key's off, there's a constant drain on the battery to make sure that it can keep that in its memory so your car drives like you expect it to every morning when you get in it.
Well, and one of the reasons that we're testing the battery, most people think they go out, my car goes click, 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 I need a new battery. That's probably the most common failure. And if it fails that way, I guess you're kind of lucky, because there's the other times where you might bring your car into the shop and it's not running right. There's something, just a weird problem. First thing we're going to is the battery, because you have got to have good battery power to make this whole car run right. Like you said, Dave, just because it does start the car doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good battery.
Well, you think about your computer at home. It's plugged into the wall, and that socket is a 115 or 120 volt. You wouldn't plug it into a 90 volt socket. The computer's not going to work very well. So it's got to have good voltage. That's where we start on all of our electrical diagnostic. Start there, because so many times we've been down that road where we test everything on the car and we skip the battery. Not that that's ever happened.
Right.
We could have just started right there. And so anyway, Dave, what is the things you've seen change since you started in the battery business? How many years has it been for you?
Well, I'm second generation. So my dad started distributing batteries here in Phoenix in 1981. And I took over in 2001. And the big thing is batteries do a lot more in a car than they used to. And there's a lot more required of a battery, just like we've talked about. And starting even when they're running and when they're not running. So we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of different group sizes come out, and they're constantly changing. And the battery, any battery that comes into a car now has to be more of a deep cycle type of battery, because there's so much going on in a car.
How many battery model numbers would you say? I mean, it's changed. That's been a huge change. If you could throw just a number for sake of just proving a point. I mean, 20 years ago, how many models of battery do you have as compared to now?
Well, figure in the 80s, we'd go out with really about 6 or 7 types of batteries, and then a few foreign batteries. Now, I think a good selection of batteries that maybe even a shop would have to have would probably be somewhere between 15 and 25 types of batteries.
And that's broad coverage. That's not saying we have 15 batteries in stock so you can all come in and buy it, so everybody can come in and get one. You've got to have broad coverage to cover lots of cars, and that's called the BCI size, or the group size. And just because that's the other thing, to me, we see it all the time. Just because a battery would actually fit down in the box doesn't mean that that's also the right battery for the car. They say, I have them come in the shop. Yeah, the battery fits. Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, your shirt fits too, a little bit.
A little tight around the gut, but we'll ignore that.
Yeah, right. But the other part of making the battery last is you've got to take care of it. When you install a new battery, you can't leave the bag on it. You've got to take the bag off. You've got to make sure that thing is strapped down. There's a battery hold down, and that needs to be there, because otherwise the battery vibrates and takes a beating and shortens the life. can cause it to leak. You've got to have the area clean. You got to have the connections clean. I mean, even just the maintenance of a battery, you have a little bit of dirt on the top of the battery, that's going to cause a draw.
Well, the thing I like about Interstate, and the reason we carry them at Tri-City Transmission, is I've been working in an auto shop since I was 16 years old, and every single one of them carried Interstate Battery. So it's just a brand that's been around a long time, and I don't care where you are in this country, you can find somebody to take care of your Interstate Battery should there be a problem. And they're not going anywhere. And it's a good brand name. They're not going to burn. So Interstate Battery, that's why we like them, and I can in my shop. What kind of battery? Well, it's Interstate. Yeah, no problem. That's a good brand. So that's the thing I like about them. We come back. We got open lines at 602-277-5827. Any questions you have about your vehicle, and especially we like questions today about batteries, you're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR Car Guys on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
It sounds like they've just had the accurate automotive experience. We're family owned and operated and have served the Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert communities for over 22 years. We focus on building long-lasting relationships and, oh yeah, listening to you so that we can understand, meet, and exceed your expectations. One location, 14 bays, 88 years of automotive expertise, and a passionate commitment to customer service and excellence. My name is Lee Weatherby, and I approve this message because it's true. We love what we do, and we want to do it for you. Accurate Automotive, the home of friends serving friends.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A+ rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20+ years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, your KTAR Car Guys, and we brought some battery experts in with us today. We pretend to know a lot of stuff, but we don't know all the details about batteries. So we got Dave Walworth and Billy Kann, which are our Interstate Battery distributors here in Arizona. So if you got an Interstate Battery in your car, chances are it came from one of these two gentlemen. So they've been slinging batteries. I don't know if I can say, is that slang? Slinging batteries for...
We're slanging them.
Yeah.
Slanging them.
We sling them.
We sling them.
Gently sling them.
Well, you know, the thing that I like about the Interstate Battery, everybody thinks of Interstate Battery, it's this big company, and who am I dealing with when I buy Interstate Battery? Who is Interstate Battery? Well, the nice thing, and it's much like we talk about the bumper-to-bumper family and the theme of the shops. These are people that you're buying from, and you're not necessarily going to buy a battery from Billy or from Dave personally. You might at one of their Interstate Battery stores that they have, but really Interstate Batteries are distributed through all the bumper-to-bumper radio shops and through repair shops throughout the country. And again, the nice thing is it's the theme. It's the local people. You're dealing with local guys, and they employ local people. It's them. It's their business. And even though it says Interstate, it's really Billy and Dave have their own distributorships, and they're there to take care of the people, the shops, the batteries, and they want to make them work. So that's the other benefit of just going and, you know, Sears, for example. That's just Sears. There's no personality there. There's no people that you're dealing with locally. It's just the company.
Well, it looks like we got some phone calls. We're going to go with Yolanda in Mesa. She's got a 2009 Dodge Journey. How can we help you, Yolanda?
Thank you guys for taking my call. I apologize that I don't have a question about a battery. However, I do have a high idle on my 2009 Dodge Journey. So start it up, and it's just that thing is just idle high. As soon as I put it in gear, it wants to jerk, forward. I have all of the lights are on, like the engine light and so on and so forth. And so I'm wondering what's causing that problem. What can I do? Is it a small fix? I'm thinking the idle just needs to be reset, but you're the expert. I'll listen.
Well, let me see if I can make that about batteries.
Right, Honda.
You know, it's funny, these cars we were talking before the before the show about cars and learned values, and they adapt as the car wears, and so the battery has to be good so that doesn't happen. So idle relearn is a big issue with bad batteries.
Well,
so that's why I want to bring that in there, but she's definitely doesn't have a battery problem.
Yeah, Yolanda's problem, I mean, she mentioned she has a dash light on, or all the dash lights on, and that's a good thing because that means that there's a trouble code or a fault code set. I'm not exactly sure of the exact strategy on that car, how the computer system runs that, but a 2009 car, there is no screw to go turn to adjust the battery. There's no resetting the idle. Chances are you might find a vacuum leak.
Big vacuum leak.
There's several other things that can cause that. Vacuum leak would be one. We might be looking at an idle control motor or something like that. But really what we need to do is have someone with the right tools to get in there, look at the data. We need to plug into the computer, find out what the codes are, if there are any. And if there's not, that's okay too. We don't need codes to fix cars. We need to look at the data and find out where we need to go to find that problem. That might even be something that somebody with some experience pops the hood, and you might just see what the problem is right there and be able to take care of it. But it's not just don't go start turning the screws, because that won't take care of it. Right?
Tighten them all up, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, thanks for the call, Yolanda. 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. Looks like we're going to go with Paul in Phoenix on a battery for a 2004 Chrysler. How can we help you, Paul? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Well, it wasn't really a question, but I did want to bring up something. We bought a battery for my 2004 Chrysler Pacifica, and it went bad. It didn't even last about a year. And I actually took I have a 98 Chevy truck, and took the battery out of that one to put it in the Chrysler to see if I can start it and take it down to get my warranty on the other battery. And that wouldn't even start the vehicle. It would turn on, start, and shut it off. Couldn't even start the vehicle. And I was wondering, like, I know there's so many batteries, but how come I couldn't even get it started to even get it down the road, even with a different battery? And that battery was a pretty good size one. It was actually an Optima battery.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, one thing is if it's not the right battery for the car, but you said it came out of a Silverado or 2008 Chevy, it seems to me that wouldn't even have the right connectors. It might be a side post versus a top post. So I don't know if you had adapters on there, but maybe there's a problem with the car. Maybe when you went to go down and get the battery warranted or replaced, maybe it really wasn't a battery issue. Guys, I'm sure you see that. You have got to have a ton of batteries come back into you that really aren't bad, probably.
Yeah, in your scenario, there's really no explanation other than for me to first ask the question on your Pacifica. Are you still on the air? Oh, okay. Well, if you're listening, I guess my first question would be, once you did put the battery in the Pacifica, did that take care of the problem? And keep it simple that way.
Right. And I mean, sometimes the battery, I mean, it's odd that the other battery that started another car wouldn't work. But I mean, there is a certain defect rate. I mean, this is manufacturing. It's a product, and people build these batteries. So I'm sure there is a failure rate, and once in a while, it's just like a light bulb. Not all of them last for 7 years, like the packaging says, right?
Right. And usually, the 1 year failure rate on a battery is usually pretty low. Usually, if a battery is manufactured incorrectly, it's going to fail within a couple months, and then it's going to have a relatively steady service life, and then it's going to start having issues a little bit later in its life.
What are some of the signs that people can look for or listen for that may be the indicator that they have a battery that's going south?
Well, a slightly slow turn of the starter.
I thought that was appropriate, but that was kind of loud.
Yeah, it's kind of ouch. Probably caused some car accidents out there.
My ears are bleeding.
Good Lord, Dave.
And unfortunately, what you have in Phoenix is a lot of the battery failures are catastrophic failures. They're not wear out. So they're the type of failure that you sense something's wrong when you start it, and you think, I should do something about that. And then you let it go a couple days, and you're heading out to work or to church, and the battery doesn't start. And you had a warning, but that's all you got. And you had a cell dying. You had something going on with the battery, and you thought, I'll deal with it later. And
I have noticed that in Arizona. You get one warning. Dad's telling you once, and then the battery's dying. I mean, once you've got that warning, you better do something about it because, again, you talk about the batteries lasted 5 or 6 years in the Midwest. Yeah, it didn't. really start so good this time, but we went on a longer drive than normal, so maybe it charged back up a little bit. You might be able to pull that off for 2 or 3 weeks in some areas, but you're right here. Bam, you're dead. You're dead in the water instantly.
Yeah, they don't wear out. They mechanically fail in Phoenix.
So if you guys were going to take these apart, these batteries that failed, the majority of them, what happened? Did they short out? What's actually broken on the inside?
Well, it gets back to the voltage that you mentioned earlier. The cars are so sophisticated these days that a simple drop in voltage, even from 12.6, a fully charged battery, down to 12 volts, you could have all kinds of issues right there. And the warnings don't come like they used to back in my day because it is electronic and it'll only operate at a certain voltage. Once it drops down, your warning was over, and now you're dead in the water.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Actually, that the components, some of them, the performance just doesn't denigrate. It just shuts off. The thing will just, I have a new speaker. I mean, I got this new little battery-operated vacuum cleaner. The thing is great, but most battery-operated products, they slowly wear down. This thing, it just, bam, it's dead. You get no warning. It just shuts off. It has a certain threshold, and that's it. So you've got to keep the battery life well.
One question I want to throw out there. I remember when I was a lube tech in my early days, a car would come in and I had this little bottle. I would top off the batteries with water. How much maintenance to batteries is there really anymore, and how much is that an issue?
I can't think of a battery that's not maintenance-free anymore. Even the ones that have the removable caps are maintenance-free. They don't gas like they used to. And generally, if you have to add water to a battery, there's probably something going on in your car that's overcharging it. So the days of the little can filling the cells are pretty much over.
I remember my old boss, check those batteries, and I was pumping water in all the batteries. I was probably doing more damage than good because I'm pretty sure it was just tap water.
Yeah, usually you're going to overfill it then, and then it's going to leak all over everything, and then you'll really think you have a problem.
Well, and we used to see that with these batteries gassing, which they don't do as much anymore. Man, people could save a few bucks on getting a lesser expensive battery or maybe a lower quality, but we would see electrical wiring harnesses torn up, air conditioning lines eaten up. I mean, all kinds of problems can happen around the battery, and that's why you want to have a good one.
When we come back, we got open lines at 602-277-5827. We've got Tony, Brian, and Les. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR Car Guys on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Have you been told you need to spend over $4,000 on a new hybrid battery? Hi, Glenn Hayward here for the Hybrid Shop at Goodworks Auto Repair. If your hybrid has been losing fuel efficiency or become sluggish, the problem may be a battery issue. But replacing the battery with the dealer for $4,000 or $5,000 is crazy when the Hybrid Shop at Goodworks Auto Repair can condition your battery to like new for as low as $1,300. Visit GoodworksAutoRepair.com for details. Experience what auto service should be.
Swaying palm trees, poolside margaritas, and lush championship golf. Don't waste all your precious time, gas, and money trying to cram a 3-day road trip into your Memorial Day weekend this year. Hi, this is Jerry Colangelo, inviting you back to 1965 as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Golden Patriot courses at the historic Wigwam Resort. Our summer celebration kicks off this Memorial Day weekend with Bunker to Bunker, the golf show's throwback with Bunkerville Golf Tournament. The 4th annual Stay and Play sells out quickly every year for good reason. Great golf, great resort, great values. The 2-person scramble is on the world-renowned Gold Course, loaded with special throwback prizes, awards, and lunch. It even includes a free coupon for a second round of golf, all for just $82. Bring the whole family and enjoy the entire weekend with room night specials starting at just $110 per night. Now that's a holiday value you won't find anywhere else. Proceeds benefit Phoenix Children's Hospital and the Fighter Country Partnership. Space is limited, so register today at bunkergolf.com.
Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio, here along with Matt Allen, and today we're talking about batteries. Everyone is going to buy one whether they want to or not. If you got a car, you're going to be in the market for a battery, guaranteed either this year or next year. It's going to happen. So we brought Billy and Dave, who are Interstate Battery Distribution here in Arizona, and they are going to help us out with those battery questions that we don't know the answer to. And then we've got Michael Henry, who's with us, who's part of the Bumper to Bumper business side of things, and Carrie Quinn in here with us as well. We got a full studio. There's no open seats.
You can hear all the breathing.
Heavy breathing. Heavy breathing.
Not good.
Hey, Billy and David, I just want to say thank you on behalf of Bumper. We're really happy to have you on as partners, and you're a perfect fit for us, as Matt had talked about earlier, with the local ownership and you guys being in touch. And one of the things that was important, I just want to make sure our listeners know, if you haven't been to bumpertobumperradio.com in a little while, a lot of things have changed in the last year, right, Dave? And I think
yes, they have.
I think one of the things that's inclusive of that is that with our new partners at Interstate, come check out the cool place that Interstate has on the Bumper to Bumper radio site. What's great is after the show, if you have a lot of questions, you want to find a dealer, it's very easy through your site now, guys, right, to go check in and see where you can pick up a battery, and all of that you can find right there on bumpertobumperradio.com.
Yeah, easy to find a dealer. Lots of questions, FAQs.
I wait for the stump the guys question. I've just been waiting for that. That's like my favorite part coming up.
Stump, yeah, easily stumped. Don't tell anybody. We don't know anything about cars because it's true. No.
We just make there's a box here. We line up and get the answer. One answer for all.
Well, we got a couple of battery texts here. A guy that's a courier that drives 200 miles a day. Is there a good time for me to replace my battery? In other words, how often? How often would you say for a guy that drives 200 miles a day? Probably doesn't want to be broke down at all because that's lost revenue. How long?
Probably every year.
Every year.
Yep.
Buy a new battery every year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're driving 200 miles a day, that means you're getting an oil service every 3 weeks or once a month.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be good with that, or have it tested every single time. I mean, these battery testers that we have nowadays, well, it's not like the old carbon pile. We used to just dial up and crank a bunch of load into the battery, and if it drop below 9.8 volts or something, there was so much subjectivity into it now. But with the tester, with the battery technology changing, and then the technology of the testers and all of our equipment, we can do a pretty darn good job of predicting the life of the battery.
And you guys can maybe answer this a little bit more. As a lot of times I use that tester and it says battery bad. I'm like, well, it's starting the car. Seems good to me. Tell us about that predictability of that battery tester.
Well, that's something that the battery tester people that work for us have been chasing for a really long time. It's easy to look at a set of tires and tell how long they have to last. It's a little tougher with a battery to see inside and kind of determine what that's going to look like, especially in light of the voltage requirements and how that can shut you down so quick without warning. The early detection, a lot of it has to do with technology and how we look at things. In that guy's case with the 200 miles a day, that's 50,000 miles a year he's putting on his car. So Dave's answer of 1 year just accelerates that when we do business with like a police car or a taxi cab. They have different shifts getting in that car. So for them to expect anything to go over 12 months is tough on any battery.
Well, not only that, they got all kinds of electrical stuff in a cop car, I would imagine. I see computers, and they don't have CB radios anymore, do they?
CB, breaker 19 there, Dave.
They got cell phones.
You picking me up? Well, and you got to think, too, it's just the time, 50,000 miles, that's 50,000 more miles of rattles, 50,000 more miles of shaking, of vibration, of you name it. It's a lot more mileage on there. So,
well, for sure. We've got John, Scott, and Les. We're going to go with Les in Mesa on a 1999 Chevrolet S10 four-wheel drive pickup. How can we help you, Les? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Thank you. I have a cooling system issue. I have to add coolant every day, but it leaves nothing on the ground.
Well, I think of a couple of possibilities. Is it an automatic or manual transmission?
Automatic.
Well, sometimes one of the places that coolant can go that we're not aware of is into the transmission. It's not supposed to, but that's one of the places if you got one of those mysterious coolant leaks. And the other place it can really go is into the combustion chamber, which is not a good thing, Matt.
Yeah, well, what I'm thinking too on that S10, 99 S10, that's not one of the ones you would commonly see a radiator failure on. I'm kind of leaning towards that's the classic intake manifold gasket leaking. It may leak. You might have a small leak, and that's going to leak externally. It may be hot enough to where it evaporates and it never quite makes it to the ground. we might see like on that car a pink little icicle or something where the Dex Cool was dripping down. But otherwise, you might go check the oil, make sure the oil level's not too full because the fluid's going somewhere. Again, check the transmission fluid level. But short of that, if not either one of those two fluids are overfilled, we need to do something with the cooling system pressure test, maybe a leak down test, and find that leak. It can be if you're adding water, it can be found.
Well, even taking out the spark plugs and see if one's washed out. I mean, that's a place we'd be going to look at that. So thanks so much for the call, Les. We are going to go with Scott in Cave Creek. Hey, Scott, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. How can we help you?
Good morning. Yes, well, I've got a 2000 diesel pickup, Ford pickup with the 2 batteries. They're 4 years old. I got them from Sears. They're similar to Optima. They have the gel in them, and they've done very well. I'm, realizing I probably need to just get 2 more batteries before they quit on me because you can't really jump a diesel. But I guess my question has to do with, in the past, I've had really good luck with Optima. I had a classic car. I went 9.2 years and changed out the Optima battery, and it was here in Phoenix. But Optima has had a lot of problems. You guys, with the Interstate batteries, I mean, what kind of technology are you using versus Optima and the other batteries?
I can answer that one for you.
Yeah.
Am I on still?
I'm trying to decide what battery do I buy, because Optima has had some problems, and Interstate has been around a long time. Are you using some kind of technology that's going to make me think they're going to go longer than most?
Billy's going to take that for you. Go for it, Billy.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. We have an Optima's, you mentioned the word gel. It's actually what the technology is called AGM. It's absorbed glass mat. It's something that Optima came up with. I think we were a distributor for Optima, and we still are today at Interstate. But that's something they came up with back in the early 90s. And just as recent as about a year and a half ago, a lot of companies tried to copy the Optima because they had a spiral design that eliminated some of that vibration that Matt mentioned earlier. And so they've got this technology, and they kind of patented that battery, and a lot of people tried to copy it but weren't successful. Interstate Batteries came out with a version of that. It's an AGM battery, more made to fit your car. So like the Ford diesel that you talked about, with the Optima, you had to have adapters. We have an actual battery now that bolts right in. That's something Interstate prides herself on, is getting a OEM-sized battery in there. They believe in it enough, and it hasn't stood the test of time yet, but in all the lab tests that we could do on it, Interstate's going to stand behind that battery for 4 years. No charge.
Wow, and so that's now that's probably the Group 65 series battery. We talked about the size. So size, or BCI, is 65.
And size does matter.
And you can get that in a absorbed glass mat, or is that a standard lead acid battery also? I mean, the AGM is an upgrade, right?
Yeah.
Or is that standard now?
No, we have it both ways. We have actually 3 different levels of the flooded acid one, the traditional acid battery, and then we have that one series of the AGM battery, all OEM, and they have different cranking amps. We haven't talked much about that, but the nice part about an AGM battery is because it can operate into cold and to heat and outperform our standard acid batteries all day long.
Well, and it's also the vibration in the harsh environment that diesel engine is going to subject that battery to. That's where the AGM, the absorbed glass mat battery, is the best one. So, Scott, for your truck, if you want to go to bumpertobumperradio.com, right on the front page is the link to the Interstate Batteries guys. They're going to have their stores, which we can talk about in a little bit here, I guess, the stores where they sell Interstate batteries for your car, for your motorhome, for your tractor, for your drill, for your cell phone, you name it. They've got that stuff. So you can go there, but you can also go find a link, check the Bumper to Bumper radio shops in your area. I know Combs Auto is one of them up in the Cave Creek area. And check on the Interstate Battery site, and then call those guys and have a conversation, because there are 3 different grades of battery that you can get for your truck. And you want to have them last a long time, and I'd be going to that absorbed glass mat. I mean, you can buy the cheap hamburger, or you can get the one that tastes really good and works well, and that's the AGM.
It's called an MT7 series. So just tell them that you're looking for an MT7 series battery.
Look for that. Well, we're going to go to a caller in Mesa on an 03 Mitsubishi Lancer. That's line 3. Go ahead. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Got an 03 Mitsubishi Lancer, got a good battery in it. But my question is, I've heard some things about this big 3 upgrade, which is like an electrical upgrade. The positive cable, and upgrading the gauge of the cable to like a 10-gauge, thicker gauge cable to the positive charging post on the alternator, and also a ground wire from the battery to the frame, and from the engine to the frame. Now, how beneficial is that kind of upgrade? You were talking about how much more these cars have electrical drains on the battery. Would that improve the life of the battery by charging or extra, grounding?
Well,
also preventing static shock. When I get out of the car, I get a lot of static shock.
Well, I think the static shock is just going to happen. I mean, that when the climate is really dry like we have,
right,
you're just going to have that, and that doesn't have much to do or anything to do with the battery at all. But what you said you mentioned this upgrade or this thing. I don't know if that's something you see on some forums or something like that, or
yeah, I've seen around on the internet, just electrical upgrade for your battery, especially if you have a upgraded stereo system in your car.
Billy's got some comments here he can tell you about.
Most of the time when we start talking about that, were they talking about relocating the battery?
No,
to the
just improving the charging rate of the alternator to the battery with an extra cable, and then improving the ground.
Well, there's some truth in that. Electricity is like water. It follows a path of least resistance, and if you got a bigger cable, it's like getting a bigger hose. As long as you have the power to go through there, it can improve it. But a lot of times I've heard of that being done when we relocate the battery in race cars or show cars or stuff like that, because you have less voltage drop, and that's important.
It's time for Fact or Fiction. Well, I figured our fact or fiction for today would have something to do with batteries, and I heard this one for the first time this morning. I didn't even know this was a deal. Is that you can actually use a bottle of aspirin to get your battery working again if you're stuck on the side of the road. Dave, I think you might be the guy to ask this question. Fact or fiction? Can it be done? Will a bottle of aspirin get you off the side of the road?
You beat your head with the aspirin because you made the mistake of not replacing the battery, and then you take it so you don't have a headache, or what?
I've been asked that before, and I've read it a little bit, and what's interesting is, from what I've read, you can wake a battery up a little bit by putting aspirin in it, but we're talking for minutes. And most of the time when your battery dies, like I said, here in Phoenix, it's catastrophic. So it's not going to heal a dead cell. So you're probably better off taking the aspirin with water, swallowing it, and calling someone to come replace your battery.
Don't swallow it with battery acid, though, right?
Well, when we come back, we've got John and Bill, and maybe time for one more at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Bumper Radio.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A+ rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20+ years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
So, who do you trust on your roof? It's way too early for Santa, and no superheroes have been spotted in the neighborhood. Let's agree right now, you shouldn't go up there. So if the roof on your home or your business is over 10 years old, somebody ought to go up there and check for possible problems. Why not let Kaiko do it for free? Why Kaiko? Well, for over 20 years, Arizona has trusted Kaiko Roofing with their flat, foam, tile, or shingle roofs. From a small leak to a complete new roof, Kaiko has you covered. You see, you can also trust Kaiko to use only the finest materials installed by the most skilled workers, real roofing professionals. Invite Kaiko up on your roof for a free checkup and peace of mind. Kyko, K-Y-K-O, 602-944-4600 or KykoRoofing.com. All your financing options will be there too. So why do you want Kyko on your roof? Because they're crazy about quality.
Hi, Jerry Colangelo inviting you back to 1965 as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Gold and Patriot courses at the historic Wigwam Resort. Our celebration kicks off this Memorial Day weekend with Bunker to Bunkers, Throwback with Bunkerville Golf Tournament, benefiting Phoenix Children's Hospital and the Fighter Country Partnership. The two-person scramble is loaded with special throwback prizes, lunch, and a coupon for a free second round of golf, all for just $82. Room specials start as low as $110 per night. Register today at bunkergolf.com.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we brought with us today the newest addition to the Bumper Radio family, the gentleman from Interstate Battery. We've got Dave Walworth and Billy Kann, and chances are if you got an Interstate Battery in your car, it came through one of these gentlemen's distribution centers, and they keep Arizona going with batteries. Considering that Interstate Battery is the #1 replacement brand, so chances are you got one. It's a green battery, right, with a white, in most cases.
Might be gray.
Mostly green. I like the green.
We
Kind of
like
Kelly green kind of thing.
If you got the gray one, you know you got the good one, right? Well, they're all good.
No, we switched the good to green because that's our color.
Green's the new gray.
Okay. The green is the new gray.
Well, we got to get to John in Phoenix on a 1976 Corvette. I think he's still got the original battery in there. Hey, John, welcome to Bumper. How can we help you?
Hey, thank you. I really could appreciate your advice. I was wondering what size and type of battery I should be using in this vehicle, just because of the fact that I've had it for like 39 years and I only drive it, maybe 100 miles a month, and I thought that there might be some new technologies, and maybe you could recommend one of the Interstate models, and then the particular size you'd recommend for this 76.
Take it away, fellas.
All right. Probably what's less important than the battery is getting something that's going to keep the battery up when you're not using it. And
like a trickle charger?
Yeah, a little trickle, or what we call them a float charger.
Yeah.
And getting a good quality one.
Mm-hmm.
Since you're only, what'd you say, 100 miles a year?
Oh, no, I'm roughly a month. I drive it every couple of weeks.
John, are you a do-it-yourselfer, John?
No, I'm not a mechanic, no.
Okay.
Yeah, so I, offhand, I don't know what battery that took.
Okay.
But
I got that one.
You got that one? You know that one?
Yeah, well, because Dave was in grade school in 1976 and I was in high school. The battery that came in that car was a Group 74. It was one of the first. In 1972, they switched to the first side post.
Yeah, I had a Life too.
General Motors.
Okay, so it's
but
the Group 74.
Well, sadly enough, the 74 doesn't exist anymore. It's been preceded by a Group 78, so that'll fit. It's just a little bit lower than what came in your car.
78?
A Group 78 is what you're looking for.
Okay, and then are there different models or quality levels of the Interstate batteries?
Yeah, just like in some of our other lines, in that Group 78 line, we have two choices on the flooded regular acid battery, and then we also have our AGM battery. And the AGM battery, David's right, the trickle charger is good. Battery wants to be activated somehow every 90 days, so if you're driving it once a month, you're still okay. But one of the nice features of the AGM batteries, they have what's called a longer shelf life. So they discharge at a slower rate, even here in the summer, than a standard acid battery, so that would keep the voltage up a little longer and thus the life.
Hey, thanks so much for the call, John. We're going to get to Bill in Mesa on a 1999 Lincoln Continental. How can we help you, Bill? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yeah, first let me say that I've had lots of good experience with Interstate. When I'm getting it out of park, I'm having to depress the brake pedal a little bit more. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's, pressing a little little bit harder. Is that a big thing, a little thing? And also with dead batteries with some of these cars with the keyless entry, how do you get in if the battery's dead?
You don't. you got to go
OnStar. That's all.
You've got to go back to the key. I mean, a dead battery is a dead battery. If that's not going to allow the remote start system, to work either. And Dave, you might be able to take the
one is
shifter issue
on his questions. Cars is a safety item on the car. There's a park brake interlock. So it's a switch down on your brake pedal that keeps the car from coming out of park when the car's running without your foot on the brake. So there's a little switch down there on the brake pedal, and that operates a little solenoid up there in the steering column. So if your foot's not on the brake, it's not going to come out of park. Real commonly, the most common problem is the brake switch down there on the brake pedal. That's not to say that's what you have going on, but it's a very high likelihood.
Yeah, because you shouldn't have. I mean, that doesn't know how hard you're pushing. It's either on or it's off. It's not,
unless it's loose or out of adjustment, something like
Sure.
that. You just step on it hard. Just don't bend the brake pedal.
Yeah, right.
But it's actually a pretty common repair at the transmission shop because my car won't come out of park. And that's all it is that thing malfunctioning. So thanks so much for the call. Go ahead, Matt.
All right, we're going to squeeze in one more. Mike from North Phoenix. You've got a Nissan Altima. What's going on? What can we help you with today?
Nothing's really going on with it per se, but I wanted to, I have an old, I guess you could say old wives' tale, old country solution to corrosion, and I had no idea, I still don't have any idea what causes corrosion, and I wanted to know what the expert's opinion was about the best way to prevent it or get rid of it once it is there.
Well, he said expert. He's obviously not referring to you. He's referring to these guys.
Yeah, right.
Is there an expert in the room?
Yeah.
One of them just asked.
Corrosion is it's oxidation, and so the best way to get rid of the corrosion is to get something on it that is going to eat the oxidation off of it. Baking soda. Sometimes people pour Coca-Cola on it. It actually works.
Well, I've heard people say their battery's dead and they go pour Coke all over it and it starts the car.
It eats the corrosion. It doesn't actually do anything.
As long as they add aspirin at the same time, it should work.
Coke and aspirin will really do it up for a battery.
Yeah. Take care of a headache and keep you going.
And then the best way to keep corrosion from happening is to keep oxygen away, since it's oxidation. So treating the bare metal with something that's going to block the oxygen.
Well, what about those little pads you see that people put underneath the cables? Helper, not good. You like them?
They work because sometimes you get some gassing that'll come up through the case to post connection. There's a little kind of a ring there.
Okay.
So that'll keep that from happening. So they do work. And then the other thing is to get something on the metal on top that's going to keep the oxidation from happening from the battery gassing.
Yeah, dirty battery cables is a real problem. Well, thanks, David and Billy, for coming in to help our listeners learn a little something about batteries. If you're looking for a shop that carries, you can go to bumpertobumperradio.com. You find Interstate Battery there to find yourself a dealer. Thanks for coming in, guys. Thanks, Bree, for running the dials. If you're looking for a friendly shop, bumpertobumperradio.com.
Hi, Lisa Henry with Russ Lyon Sotheby's International Realty. Have you been thinking maybe the time is right to move, but you're not sure if you have enough equity in your home or if it really is a good time? Well, home values have increased significantly over the past few years, and interest rates are still historically low. For how long? No one knows. But for every 1% increase in the interest rate, the result is about a 10% loss in purchasing power. So it might be a really great time to sell your home and either upsize or downsize to a new home while the interest rates are still low. Contact me via my website at lisareneehenry.com or direct at 480-330-9530 for a no-obligation market valuation on your home and to hear about our global online marketing plan designed to sell your home quickly for top dollar. Again, that's lisareneehenry.com, 480-330-9530. Come experience the difference a truly customer-focused real estate agent can make.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale.
We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
Join us for everything automotive on Bumper to Bumper Radio with Dave Riccio and Matt Allen, the KTAR Car Guys, every Saturday 11 to noon on KTAR News, 92.3 FM.
Spring is here, but big bad summer's just around the corner. Join us this Saturday for the top 10 tips to prepare your car for the heat.
And remember, 24/7, there's bumpertobumperradio.com. It's a must for the